Hey guys, and welcome to the Social Discharge podcast, another episode of Daima Tri-Weekly series, where we cover 3 episodes every 3 weeks of the Daima series. Last time we covered the first 3 episodes of the series, and today we're going to be talking about episodes 4 through 6. I am your host, Tamika Likes to Draw, and joining me today is Aarlon.
I'm here.
There's actually a couple of things that I kind of wanted to get into before we started talking about the actual episodes, because between the last episode that we recorded and this episode that we're recording now, a couple interesting bits and pieces of information about the behind the scenes of not just Dragon Ball Daima, but even a little bit of history about the behind the scenes of Dragon Ball in general came out recently. So we've been saying for a while now that this series very clearly seems to be taking cues from Dragon Ball GT, what with the whole plot of the characters being turned into kids, etc. That's pretty much been straight up confirmed. It's all intentional. They definitely were like deliberately setting out to take cues from GT. The purpose of this show was not just to appeal to those nostalgic for the original Dragon Ball, but also people who are nostalgic for Dragon Ball GT, which is very interesting because, well, I was going to say it kind of feels like Dragon Ball GT is one of those things where like they kind of try to memory hole it a little bit, but I guess that's not entirely true because whenever they make like new Dragon Ball games, they do always like include they include the GT characters. They no longer include like GT in the story mode. Like, there's DLC for Dragon Ball Super and Z Kakarot, but no DLC for GT. But I guess Z Kakarot is meant to be like a video game that sort of retells specifically Toriyama's Dragon Ball, because it does do Super, like I just said, and we are going to be getting Daima DLC, etc. But yeah, it's kind of interesting because aside from video games, it feels like GT doesn't get that much acknowledgement, so it's kind of interesting that they are sort of being like, oh, yeah, we know that there's people out there who are fans of this show, even though it's mostly shat on. It's very likely that this show being shat on is mostly a Western thing. That wouldn't surprise me. We don't really get to hear much about how this show performed in Japan. In fact, to be honest, Daima is like the first time I've ever seen the ratings of how a show performed in Japan. I'm assuming Super performed well because it's fucking Dragon Ball, and I don't think anything that's Dragon Ball related would ever underperform in Japan, but
Yeah. We talked about it a bit last time that you were saying like, oh, it's actually doing pretty well, so I guess that's just the Twitter bubble. And I was saying, well, that I imagine that has a lot to do with like, oh, you cited the Japan ratings as like, see, it's doing well.
The ratings that were published by Toei,
Yeah. And I was saying, well, that's probably for Japan, and like, of course it's going to do well in Japan because this is made to appeal to them.
The only way we could gauge how it's doing outside of Japan is if we get publishings from like Netflix, Hulu, and Crunchyroll, because they're the people streaming it outside of Japan. I don't think we're going to get those because I know Netflix publishes their ratings for shows sometimes, but I don't think Crunchyroll does that.
Yeah.
But anyways, that's beside the point. So yeah, this show is made to appeal both to OG fans and GT fans, which is kind of cool because I kind of like GT. It's been a hot minute since I last watched it, but I like the second half. I thought it was neat. I'm kind of curious to see where that influence is going to go. I know a lot of people have their own personal theories about that.
It's time to bring back Great Ape form.
That would be something. It's funny because there was a line of dialogue in the episode. I don't know why I didn't notice this. For some reason, I just thought it was back, but I think it was Pansy who said a line of dialogue about tails. And then I was like, oh yeah, Goku doesn't have his tail because he's Kid Goku, and Kid Goku normally does have his tail. Although he doesn't have it in GT, they specifically pull it out of his ass in GT because he needs it to be able to get Super Saiyan 4. I don't know. Maybe they'll fucking do something like that here. Who fucking knows?
I feel like I've noticed they made a lot of design choices to make things easier to animate in this.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it looks really nice, but I was thinking about how we were talking about how like so many of the characters are bald, and I'm pretty sure that's because it's easier to animate bald characters.
Probably, yeah. I mean, kind of like how when Roshi and Krillin would turn into kids, their hair didn't come back for some reason.
Yeah,
Although
exactly.
Krillin actually
Well,
was
yeah,
bald
Krillin
in
is
the
always
animated
bald.
Yeah.
He's a monk, I think.
Yeah, he is. He studied at a temple before he started studying under Roshi. One other thing I wanted to go into about those interviews that were coming out recently is they talked a little bit about Toriyama's thought process when he was working on the Dragon Ball manga way, way, way back. I guess I'm not entirely sure if this was confirmed prior to this or if this was always speculation up until now, but we basically did get confirmation that yes, the Dragon Ball manga was supposed to end with the Cell Saga. And I'm kind of just like, man, I kind of wish they did do that because then Gohan's arc would have been completed without being completely shat on with what happened in the Blue Saga.
Yeah. I saw the article or whatever you linked in Weeb chat that
Yeah.
it was talking about how Toriyama felt burnt out.
Yeah. Well, the interesting thing about that interview is it was talking about how even though he was basically forced to keep working on it for like another couple of years with the Boo Saga, the people that were being interviewed mentioned that he was a lot more enthusiastic working on the Boo Saga than he was for a pretty large portion of Dragon Ball Super. Um, that's the thing that stuck out to me the most is that uh,
I'm feeling pretty validated right now because I was literally last episode talking about how I didn't think he had that much involvement in Super. So
yeah, like I mean, it's still hard to say because I mean we know that the ideas are his at the very least. I think the anime script was like written by other people, but I think he only wrote specifically for the manga with alongside Toyotaro, obviously. Um, but like yeah, apparently he wasn't as enthusiastic working on Dragon Ball Super at least up until the movies that were written leading up to Dragon Ball Daima, like Dragon Ball Super Broly, where
Mhm.
they made Broly canon. It seemed he was starting to show a little bit more enthusiasm from then on, and what was it, Dragon Ball Super Hero, which he apparently began writing before they even asked him to. So that's how you know he was really getting back into his groove for Dragon
Days.
Ball.
I need to
Um,
watch that.
yeah, it was like, oh yeah, that character whose arc I fucked up. I should probably fix that. Um, yeah, I found that interesting. A lot of people suggest, I can't remember if this was said in the interview specifically, but a lot of people suggest that it may have come down to the fact that Toriyama, actually, I think it was stated in the interview, that Toriyama was getting weary of like writing stories that were formatted in a typical shonen, battle shonen way, where it's like, oh, we got the big bad, and then
Yeah.
we do the fight. We throw a gauntlet of Z warriors at the big bad.
It
They
was
get their,
pretty fresh when he started doing it.
yeah,
It's a
and then
little
they get.
bit played out now.
So it seems he was growing a little bit tired of that, which I will say is kind of interesting that Dragon Ball Super Broly is when he started to lock in and Superhero because I would say they're slightly different in the sense that the villains in those movies are kind of like not necessarily villains, especially well actually in both of them they're just not actually villains. So I guess they're more story focused and the villains aren't quite as generic as the villains prior. So I guess that's when he started developing more of an interest for story than simply just action. And it all culminates, of course, in the series that we're talking about today, Dragon Ball Daima, where it's like, okay, no more playing around. I actually just want to make an actual adventure series, like the original Dragon Ball. And yeah, that's how we got. Well, I mean, obviously we got Sandland first, but like I mentioned last time, I don't think Sandland ended up being as popular as any of the Dragon Ball projects. So
I'm
Tar,
kind of curious about that. I kind of want to check it out just to
yeah,
see what it's like.
I want to check it out too. It'll probably be the first, assuming I don't play a Dragon Quest game, the first non-Dragon Ball project that Toriyama made that I actually check out. It's funny. It's kind of I call myself a fan of Toriyama, but it's kind of like calling myself a fan of Sega when the only Sega game I've played is Sonic. Like it's not really it's not really being a fan of Sega, but whatever. Well, I used to call myself a fan of Sega. Fuck that company.
It's time to play Monkey Ball so
True.
you can get into Sega again.
I actually have played a little bit of that.
Ah,
But speaking of monkeys, back to Dragon Ball.
that is racist against Saiyans.
Very, very true. But fuck saying they genocide planets if they deserve it. The fourth episode, it basically starts exactly from where the third one left off. The characters learn that their ships have been stolen. Their ship has been stolen. So now they've got to go it on foot.
I was kind of surprised that they just immediately gave. I mean, I guess if their ship got stolen, they probably like flew away and they're long gone. But
Yeah.
I was just kind of under the assumption, in my mind, I was like, oh, now they're gonna have to. This is like the next MacGuffin or whatever, right? It's gonna propel the plot forward. That now they have to like find the bandits to get the ship back
Yeah.
or the plane back. But instead,
Well,
they're like, well, that's gone.
well, it kind of makes sense because it's like, this is kind of like adventure style Dragon Ball story.
Like, I didn't think they'd immediately get it back, but
Oh,
I
you thought
thought
it
it
was
was
gonna
gonna.
be like a mini arc.
Yeah, I thought it was gonna turn into like, it kind of snowballs
Yeah.
as they're like looking for it, and then it turns into a whole thing. But
But basically, it grounds them so that they go on foot. So it's more like kind of like what you were saying before, where it's like, well, I guess saying road trip would be inaccurate because now they don't even have the car.
yeah. Oh, but we did get, I guess, kind of the meta reason for why they went into that whole thick air explanation, which is that it keeps them from flying.
Yeah, because they're like, oh, Goku's like, well, we could just fly there, and they can't because the air is too heavy. And also, if you're not careful while you're flying, you fall into the, well, is it the,
The Sea of Darkness.
yeah, the Sea of Darkness. And once you fall in there, there is no getting out. So you don't want to fall in there. Uh, and it's also in this scene as they're flying that okay, they get attacked by a monster, and Glorio proceeds to beat the shit out of it. And then we get probably one of my favorite lines in this series, where Goku says to Glorio, "Okay, I bet you could probably give Supreme Kai here a run for his money." And Supreme Kai's like, "Well," he's like offended by that, and he's like, "I'm no pushover." And personally, I find that line kind of amusing because, yes, technically Supreme Kai can fight, but up until this point, we haven't seen any particularly impressive feats from him. Uh, I think I kind of went over it last episode, but the first time he gets into an actual serious fight is against Majin Buu. He gets his ass kicked. Supreme,
Supreme Jobber.
yeah, he's pretty much a jobber. And I guess it does sort of cement how much of a threat Majin Buu is supposed to be, because it's like, oh man, Supreme Kai is like this high level god, and he loses to Majin Buu, so Majin Buu must be like pretty strong.
But
But
he still hasn't fought a single time,
yeah,
pretty
he hasn't.
much since then.
Yeah,
He got his ass beat once, and now here we are in Daima, 6 episodes in.
he didn't fight at the bar. He didn't. Yeah, he's pretty much here just to be the exposition guy
Yeah.
until further notice. Which I mean, maybe he'll get his time to shine. We'll see. So then they arrive at this place because they're looking for a means to speed up their travel across the third demon world. And it's here where they learn about what was it? Are they called travel seeds? I forget what they're called.
You mean the bug things?
No, not the bugs, the ones that they ride to fly. I'm just gonna call them travel seeds. But yeah, now that you mention it, there is also the bugs. They have the revive bugs, which are pretty much akin to senzu beans. And then there's the more interesting bugs that I'm sure will lead to something later on down the road, I think. Which is the join bugs, which is basically the third different version
Yeah,
of
it's just
fusion
another fusion
to
thing.
be introduced in the Dragon Ball continuity. Because first we had the fusion dance, which leads to fusions like Gogeta and Go Tanks. Then we have the Potara earrings, where we have fusions like Vegito and stuff. So yeah, people are kind of speculating that maybe later on down the line we might get some fusions between like Goku and Vegeta because as we learn later on in the episodes, they're still trying to get to the demon realm.
Vegeta's pumping iron.
Yeah, and he's getting ready to come to the demon realm, and they have the join bugs, so maybe they'll use them to fuse.
Also, in the defense of the bugs, I think it's a bit reductive to just call them sensu beans. I mean, Goku says that, but it's more like they split up the abilities of sensu beans into several different things to make them less overpowered.
Oh, so you have to eat like multiple of them at once?
Yeah, well, he was describing there were like burn bugs, and the ones that Goku called like sensu beans, they don't heal you, they just make you not tired.
Oh, so they like restore your stamina.
Yeah.
Whereas senzu beans heal and restore your stamina.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I completely missed that. But yeah, a lot of people were speculating that with the join bug, we might get a new fusion because we've got Gogeta, we've got Vegito, and people are like, oh, does this mean we're gonna get Veku?
Man, this is like Steven Universe, the way they like hold back on the fusion and everyone's thirsty for it and they're just like, nah.
Well, it's kind of funny because one of the things I have written down here is maybe we might get a Goku and Glorio fusion or Goku and Supreme Kai or something like that. Because one thing that many people don't really talk about when it comes to fusions in this show is that it's always the same characters fusing, like Goku and Vegeta, Goten and Trunks, and I guess as of recently, Kale and Caulifla in Dragon Ball Super. Like
Yeah.
it's always those specific pairs. They never really fuse outside of that. There was one time in the Buu saga where we almost got Gokhan, Gokhan, because during the Buu saga, Goku wanted to give Gohan the Patara, but then Gohan foolishly missed it when Goku threw it to him. And they decided to basically explain that scene in Dragon Ball Super by saying, actually, it's because Gohan's eyesight went to shit from reading too much, and his eyesight improves when he transforms. Which I point out he was in his ultimate form in that scene, which means that his eyesight should have still been good, which means that he should have caught the earring. But
Man,
we'll just
Gohan cannot catch a break.
so we'll just conveniently ignore that excuse doesn't really work, because he was in a transformation. He was in his ultimate form. But also, to be fair, back then it was kind of like up until Super confirmed it recently. It was kind of up in the air whether or not Ultimate Gohan was actually a transformation. To be fair, because I mean his hair is black. He just looks like he's in base form. So I'll let it slide. I'll let it slide. Okay. But yeah, I mean, it would be nice to see an atypical fusion that isn't just Goku and Vegeta. I actually have seen some fan designs of like a Veku. Like one of the mods I have, for someone made like a fan season pack of of Dragon Ball Daima for Sparking Zero, and they made like a fan mod where it's like an original Veku design. All I have to say is I hope it doesn't look like that because I appreciate the effort, but
I had thoughts on the pit stop place.
oh
I
yeah.
will I will say, for one, all the people there, and actually quite a few characters over the course
All
of
two, all two of them.
yeah, the two people manning that, the old guy and the old lady, uh,
Hmm.
but also like quite a few characters over the course of these episodes had accents. Those
Hmm.
two had Southern accents, and then later, the King guy has a
And
Brooklyn
you know
accent.
what? Now that you've mentioned that, I appreciate that
Yeah,
because I've gotten into this with you before about how one of the things that I like, unironically, about the 4 Kids dub of One Piece is the fact that it makes the world feel a lot bigger because the characters actually have accents in that dub, as opposed to the Funimation, or I guess now Crunchyroll dub, where they all sound like, I don't fucking know, Texans because the voice actors are from Texas. I mean, they don't sound like this. They
yeah,
just have a
they
they
sound
sound like
like
standard
Texans.
American.
They sound like Texans that live in the suburbs.
Yes. The point is, they all sound like they're from the same place, and I mean, the world of One Piece is like fucking. The planet itself is like 10 times the size of planet Earth, and the characters should not all sound the same. The fact
Yeah,
that there's only one area where the characters have a distinct accent, and that is Dressrosa, is fucking insane. Uh, so yeah, I appreciate when dubs actually try to give characters different accents.
yeah, I
And
appreciated that. I just wanted to say, Glorio should have either had a Southern accent or a Brooklyn accent. 'Cause
indeed.
I'm a little bit confused about what his relation is to the King guy later. We can get into that when we get to that part. But
Yeah.
I was thinking like, oh, well, he's associated with that guy, so like, shouldn't he have a Brooklyn accent? But
Well, he's from the third demon world, but I don't think he's like specifically from that organization because they do say he
uh,
approached them. And
well,
in the
then
first,
he should have a Southern accent because I feel like most of the guys of his race we've seen from the third demon world have had Southern accent.
And I might be misremembering, but I think in the first episode we do see him in King Goma's castle. So I have no idea, but
Yeah. The other thing I was gonna say is it did make me nostalgic for my road trips across from Texas to Colorado when I was moving with my dad.
hmm
That pit stop was like something straight out of like some random rural town in the middle of Texas
yeah,
that probably smells really bad.
it's like a farm area. It smells like cow shit.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. It's like methane smell or something, but
Yeah,
there's a lot of places like in the middle of Texas that just smell really bad when you're driving through them.
yeah.
That kind of reminded me of that, like just a little department store in the middle of nowhere. And you
hmm
stop to like buy some snacks or whatever, and they've got shit like that.
Yeah, it's kind of like that in Zimbabwe too, actually. Especially when you're like heading over to the village. They normally have like these stores just outside of when you really properly enter the rural areas. And I guess that's pretty much like the only place where people who live in the village can actually buy food, which kind of seems like a hassle because you have to take like this like 15-minute trek to those stores. But anyways, I'm getting sidetracked. What were you gonna say?
Yeah, that also reminded me. I like that they're putting a little bit of focus on the food. I'm
hmm
always interested in like have like the weird foods of cultures. Goku, he ate there was like a lizard kebab thing. It was like a lizard on a stick. It looked disgusting.
I thought
Uh,
that looked delicious, unironically.
I'm very averse to like eating. I'm averse to meat in general, but especially like not very processed meat. I don't like getting like fat and gristle and bone and stuff. So
Damn, you would not like how we prepare fish,
yeah, I figure I've
bro.
I've seen Zimbabwean food.
I've I've fucking ate fish eyes, like actually.
Ugh.
I really hate eating fish that is like that though, because a lot of the time it just ends up feeling like there's more bone than meat. It's fucking annoying.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I've gotten fish with a lot of bones in it. It does suck. It's like they're kind of just everywhere, and they're like so small that it's kind of difficult to spot them. You have to like take apart all the meat. But
Yeah.
anyway, he also had a drink that I think they said was like
She said it was
herbal.
honey, right?
Was
I
it?
think I think she said something about honey.
Well,
It's funny.
it was like a health thing.
It's
It had
funny
like
because when
herbs
I
in it.
saw that the first time, I thought, hey, this is the demon realm, so I thought those were fucking eyeballs, but it's
Well,
not.
yeah, it looked like boba, and I kind of assumed they were like some sort of eggs, but
Yeah, they do kind of look like that.
yeah, they looked like bug eggs or something. But Goku didn't like it, so it was probably bitter or something. But
Yeah, because he doesn't like tea because it's bitter, so he's not the biggest fan of those.
yeah, so I probably wouldn't like it. But I do see that stuff. I'm like I'm gonna try that.
Yeah.
I think there was more food later in one of the other episodes we watched, but I forget.
Yeah, there was Pansy with the rice balls, and then there was the tinned
Oh,
food.
no. Yeah, they ate canned centipede later.
Yeah, the tinned food, yeah.
The
And
canned centipede actually looked kind of good, not gonna lie.
kind of looked like tuna. And then in the episodes prior, they had like those black burgers, the black burger buns, and they just look like rotten burgers. It's kind of like the way they're approaching food on in this is rather than making it like too otherworldly, they like make it similar to dishes you could expect to see in the real world.
I'm kind of not a fan of that. Well, I mean, I did like the food in this batch of episodes, but like the black burgers, like just color swapping stuff, that's kind of a pet peeve of mine. I don't like when
Yeah.
they do that.
I mean, I guess that's them sort of trying to highlight, because like when they arrived to the demon realm in episode 3, I think they kind of commented on how similar it looks to Earth. You know, it's got similar
Yeah.
plants and animals scattered around. You know, they've got fish and stuff, so their food wouldn't be too like radically different from, you know.
It's not like it has to be like a weird like bowl of slop. It's like, oh, it looks like intestines or something, right? Like
hmm
I I know some like sci-fi stuff does that sometimes like to comedic effect, but I feel like it's if you know what you're doing, you can draw stuff that like looks like a dish that you haven't seen before, but it also looks like, ooh, that looks delicious, you know?
Yeah.
It can be done.
Yeah.
But anyway, you were saying it's like a catapult thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
They write it like Tao Pai Pai style.
Oh yeah, I didn't even think of that. That's actually a pretty good comparison. I actually completely lost track of what I was saying before. I was saying that leading to somewhere, and I completely forgot. So now I'm gonna look at my notes. Oh, right. I was gonna say, and when they land and they go it again on foot,
Quote
uh,
unquote land.
yeah, it was a rough landing. Because they almost fell into the fucking sea of darkness. But yeah, once they properly are back on their feet, we get once again a second explanation of the whole like Tamagami guarding the Dragon Balls thing. And it's also in this scene where it's pretty definitively confirmed that the Dragon Balls in the Demon Realm are the original Dragon Balls. So they were, as far as we know, no set of Dragon Balls before this.
But what about the planet? Planet-sized Dragon Balls.
Well, you see, I am a little bit confused on a couple of things because there are a lot of people who, including ChatGPT, who seem very insistent on the fact that this series takes place in the same timeline as Dragon Ball
I
Super.
really think that's what they want us to have the impression of.
And I'm confused because there is no possible way this can be the case.
Oof.
Um, it's literally impossible. But at the same time, not necessarily because we know that Toriyama is someone who could give two shits about continuity. So, I mean, it's possible, but I don't really know how you can explain all the stuff that's been established in this against the stuff that's been established against the original. I mean, it's possible they could just have it so that I forget what the old Namekian is called, that he was the one that went and chipped those Dragon Balls to make his set. But if he was in the demon realm the whole time, does this mean that he at some point went out to space when getting out of the demon realm is apparently like pretty difficult to do? and and so unless he's like
Well, I mean, it's
someone,
not that difficult. A lot of people seem to be doing it in this show.
I mean that is true. It's suggested that it's supposed to be difficult. I don't know. I mean, he is kind of like a character of significance since apparently he like is just around King Goma as of recently. So maybe he did have some kind. I don't know. It's just hard to imagine that that's the implication here. That like he at some point left the demon realm.
Yeah, I think that the planet-sized Dragon Balls have been fully forgotten about.
Oh, but they're at the center of the last arc in Dragon Ball Super. That's why I'm having a hard time like reconciling.
Yeah.
I think
I mean, I was gonna say they also made like a comment about Supreme Kai being like the highest god person.
I mean that one that makes sense because if this was like in the same timeline as Dragon Ball Super, they've yet to like meet Beerus and all these other people. But at the same
But
time,
Supreme Kai must know about them, right?
Supreme Kai has to know about Beerus because there's actually this doesn't get talked about often in Super, but there actually is a unique connection between Supreme Kai and Beerus.
If one of them dies, the other does too, right?
Yeah, if Supreme Kai dies, and I think there's something about the Z Sword as well, that it breaking is why Beerus woke up in the first place, or I might be getting some things mixed up. But the point is, yeah, Supreme.
Honestly, I think Supreme Kai should just kill himself because like he, out here he's mostly just getting jobs. It's not like he's saving planets. But Beerus is like actively blowing up planets, so
Well, at this point in the in the timeline, if Super is canon to Daima, Beerus is like asleep, and presumably his sleeps for very lengthy periods of time. So he probably considers it like kind of worth it as long as nothing actually wakes him up.
that is very selfish of him.
Although they do actually go a little bit into the. I'm jumping the gun ahead a little bit here, but they do actually go into the origins of Supreme Kai a little bit, and we learn that Glin's are born from trees.
Oh, some phenomenal world building. You love to see it.
They're
They
basically
grow
plants.
they grow like fruit.
Bro, they have a fucking like umbilical cord inside the
Yeah.
tree.
Also, I guess Dr. Arinsu and I forget what the brother's name is.
Degasu.
Degasu, being Supreme Kai's siblings is not that significant
Yeah, I was gonna
because
say the same thing because they don't have like shared parents. Yeah.
yeah, there's only 4 different trees, so there's a 1 in 4 chance that any given Kai will be related to each other, or
Yeah, and
whatever they're called.
we also don't know how many are born in a tree at a time. It could be like a shit ton.
Yeah,
Actually, it's funny that you mentioned the thing about ties, because one of the things I had written down is why is it that the only people in the land of the Kais are just Glinds? Because it's not like being a Kai is like a Glind only position. King Kai isn't a Glind.
yeah.
Um,
Wait, does
the
Kai have pointy ears?
Yeah, I think he does.
Okay.
Definitely not round ears, I don't think. King Kai isn't a Glind. Grand Kai isn't a Glind, although I don't actually know if Grand Kai is canon. He might be a filler only character. Elder Kai, Supreme Kai, and Kibito are all Glinds.
What about the dude Yama?
King Yama is not a Kai. He doesn't have the title of Kai. What does it take for someone to have the title of Kai? Who knows?
But
But
he's red. So but he doesn't have pointy ears, so I guess he's just like a red guy from the mortal realm.
yeah, we have no idea what he is. And they're probably not gonna go into that because again, for some like I don't know if does this demon realm count as like an afterlife? I guess not because everyone's alive and
Yeah,
they're like
I
living
assume that people from the demon realm go to the another dimension. What do they call it? And
other world. Another dimension is from the ocean dub.
yeah, they
I'll
go
send
to
you to another dimension.
so yeah, they go to another dimension when they die. But then it's funny because like the other world also has like a
Yeah,
hell because
there's
like
hell.
Goku falls into it
Yeah, there's
there.
hell and there's demons there. And I thought that that's what Dabura ruled was specifically that area. But no, it's like this whole other realm that exists completely independent from the afterlife. It's not the afterlife because these
Yeah,
characters.
it's definitely got a little bit of retcon stink on it. Like
Yeah. Well,
a little
to be,
cluttered world building there, Toriyama.
I mean, that makes it like what, like three hells technically, because there was that hell in OG Dragon Ball,
Yeah.
and then there's two demon kings. There's Akumaon or whatever his fucking name is, and fucking King Dabura. So yeah, there's a little bit of confusion here, but I think we can safely say that the demon realm is
Wait, no,
not.
there's 3 because there's
Yeah, I said three.
or no, sorry, never mind.
Yeah, there was the one in OG Dragon Ball that Goku went to. Then there's the Hell and
Sorry, no,
Otherworld.
I was talking about the Demon King guys, but I got confused.
Oh yeah, no, I was excluding Goma there. Uh, I was talking about the ones that were there prior to Goma being introduced. So it's also here that Goku, the motivations for the characters kind of get established at this point because I think. Oh, actually, I was about to say I think at this point they were kind of just wandering around aimlessly, but that's not true because they're trying to go to the castle to meet the king.
Okay, I was a little bit confused about. I thought they were making their way to Goma so they could save Dende, but then they were saying like, "Oh, we should like turn around and go back for the Dragon Balls."
No, because if they were heading, I mean, unless there was like a longer way to get to the first realm, the first demon realm, they would have had to go to just they could just go straight to the first demon realm. And I think
Oh,
considering the fact that not Goma, considering the fact that Gloria supposedly has work there, it's not like he wouldn't have a pin to be able to take him there.
yeah.
So if that was the aim, they could have just gone straight there, I think. No, they're heading towards the king who requested Goma to bring Goku to fight. Wait, I keep confusing Goma and Glorio. I keep confusing Goma and Glorio, who requested Glorio to
Who
bring.
requested Glory Hall to bring Goku to fight Goma.
He requested
Oh, it was a
Gazebo.
lot of Go names. Goma, Goku, Glorio.
Gohan, Goten. Well, Gohan hasn't appeared in this, and I don't think he will, unfortunately. But yeah, so they're heading towards the king. But here, Goku's like, well, actually, we could probably speed up the process of saving Dende if we fight all the Tamagami and take the Dragon Balls from them. Because, as soon as the Tamagami are mentioned to Goku and how strong they are, his warrior gene kind of activates, and he's like, yeah, I wanna fucking fight those motherfuckers. But they still decide to head to the castle first anyway, because I guess they need to confirm with him that he has in fact brought the requested warriors. And it's there that they spot a nearby village. They go there and they find out that, I mean, I guess we didn't need this scene to establish this because Goma doesn't seem like a particularly likable person, so I don't think.
There are stormtroopers there.
Oh, now that I think about it, that actually is a pretty apt comparison because the Star Wars influence in this is pretty strong. But yeah, it's here that we find out that Goma is ruling with an iron fist, a complete dictatorship, which, to be honest, monarchs just are anyway, even if they are nice. And that's why we need to get rid of King Charles. It's funny because one of the lines they say here is that they're going to be raising the amount of tax that they put on the people in the third demon realm. And for some reason, I just assumed that the implication there at first was, oh, are we learning that Dabura, despite seeming evil when he first appeared, might have actually been like a pretty. Because the way that they put it is, we want people to start paying their fair share. My assumption was like, oh, are we learning that despite his character and the way that he was presented, he was actually a pretty benevolent,
pretty laissez-faire.
Pretty generous ruler of the demon realm. But no, my assumption was wrong because later on Pansy says something along the lines of things were bad enough under Dabura and they just sort of got worse.
But that's classic whining. They're like, tax is too high. We don't want to pay taxes. So you gotta pay the taxes, man. Someone's gotta build the not roads.
Someone has to build that giant fucking statue of Dabura, which is probably was built using tax money.
If they don't have enough tax money, they like steal your life force.
In the previous episode, I kind of hinted at that a little bit, and I realized, oh shit, I'm jumping the gun a bit too far ahead. But thankfully, I was saved by the magic powers of editing, because I briefly touched upon how one of the things that Goma promises. Oh, to Neva, that's his name. The old Namekian, his name is Neva. He promises that if he helps him with the Dragon Balls, he'll add more life to his lifespan. So I guess they can just take lifespan from people and add it onto other people, which would explain why Neva is like around, because he's like an insanely old Namekian. I think he's even older than fucking Guru. I don't think so.
And what we established in this batch that people in the demon realm seem to live to like around 1,000.
Yeah, they established that. That was in the scene later on with Pansy, who gets introduced in this scene.
I'm trying to remember what the stormtrooper guys are called. They like
the Jandari. They're called the Jandari. I will say, now that you mention them, they do kind of. This probably isn't intentional, but they do kind of look a little bit like Beerus. They remind me a little bit of him.
Yeah, when I saw them, I was thinking, oh, that must be Beerus's race.
The only problem is they don't have like the snout, Like they don't look like Egyptian dog thing.
Jackal.
Also, I think Beerus is like not a demon and like from an actual race of aliens, because in the Tournament of Power there's like a rabbit person, but like he's also purple with yellow eyes and kind of looks like Beerus, unless it's like a Namek situation where like there were demons at some point, or maybe that guy is.
Well, I mean, do Beerus's ears count as pointy?
I mean, they are
pointy,
and that rabbit guy's eyes are also pretty pointy too. So we've cracked the code. A demon became God. Is that legal? Can a demon? Well, actually, now that I think about it, I guess it is legal because Supreme Kai is a fucking demon.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Yeah, it makes more sense for Beerus to be a demon because, like, he's evil.
Yeah. I mean, it's just never even stated why there's even needs to be a god of destruction, and it never will be. But, but
Well, it's like a keeping balance thing, I imagine.
probably. And I guess they hired a god of destruction so that Xenos wouldn't have to do it. But it's in this scene that we get introduced to Pansy, who is later revealed
To be an 87-year-old gilf.
to be a legal lolly. Let's go. Let's go. It's a safe lane, boy. She's 82. Short stack goblin. Vosh is over there like, yes, I can jack it to this character with no hesitation, no shame.
Bruh.
Um, yeah. Yeah, she's 82, which, to be honest, considering the fact that you can live to 1,000, probably still makes you a kid in this world. So actually, it's not legal. So if you're,
It's a relative thing. So
yeah,
like in demon years, she's a kid, but like she's still 82. So like it's cool.
well,
I
there
mean,
you go.
it's the classic thing. It's the classic meme of like a normal guy gets with like the demon girl, and then the police are like, "You're under arrest," and they arrest the demon girl.
That meme is pretty funny. Yeah, so Pansy is pretty much the layout of this series. We learned that she is in fact a princess, and just in case the Star Wars references were still overhead when she demonstrates what her magic is, it's literally just the Force. Uh, so you know, like I said, the Star Wars influence in this is pretty strong. I'm actually kind of torn on that because in Namek it was like significantly more subtle in
Yeah,
that
it's
pretty
fine.
pretty much the only thing that was obvious was just, oh yeah, Frieza's definitely Palpatine. Whereas here it's just like, oh yeah, I'm inspired by Star Wars, bitch, and I'm gonna slap you right in the face with it.
I think if like you hadn't pointed it out to me early on, I probably would not be registering all this as like Star Wars homage.
Yeah. Well, the only things that are like super obviously Star Wars would probably be like one, Goma's design because he's just wearing Han Solo's outfit, and two, the fucking Mos Eisley area. That's about it.
Oh, and for the record, like, sure, she's the Princess Leia, but also almost more so, she's the Bulma.
Yeah, because she's good with technology.
I think her personality is actually pretty similar to Bulma's.
I just want to say though, before we move on to the next part, in this scene, we get treated to another good action scene. I'm just saying, get get rid of these characters' abilities to fly. It never really dawned on me that the reason why Goku wasn't flying in these action scenes was because of the air. I thought that was just like a personal choice that they made to make the action more like
No, I
classic
think it
Dragon Ball.
is because it's not like they can't fly at all. They can
Yeah.
fly, it just supposedly will like tire them out after a while. So
Well,
Goku absolutely could be flying in these fights.
it seems like it slows him down too, right? Because of the weight of it. So it'd be like a little bit inconvenient to
Mm.
maneuver around. But then he does fly in the fight against Glorio in episode 6, so I don't fucking know. And he seems to be moving pretty fast when he's flying there, so a little bit inconsistent, but
Yeah, I think it's just a directorial choice.
well, either way, the combat benefits greatly from it. Still some of the best action we've seen in a Dragon Ball project in quite
But
some time.
where's the two frames of fist punching? It's too slow, Coco. It's too slow. They only teleported like once in the whole batch of episodes.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? They're like actually showing the characters like moving on screen.
I only
And
did the sound effect once.
yeah. But yeah, Pansy decides to tag along with them, much to Glorio's chagrin, and it's when they arrive at the castle that they learn that she actually is the princess. I don't know, is she like the princess of this specific area, or like is this royal family like
Yeah,
ruling over the whole
I
third demon realm, or
I was confused about that too. I think well, this is the guy that Glorio mentioned, and Glorio was referring to him as the king of the third demon realm.
hmm
So, yeah, I assume there's a king of each demon realm, and then Goma is like above all of them.
And I guess that makes sense. It's almost like, in a way, it's kind of like how the UK is structured, actually, now that I think about it. Because you've got King Charles, but then, I mean, obviously the Prime Minister isn't a fucking king, but you've got the Prime Minister of fucking England, Scotland, uh, Wales, Northern Ireland, etc.
Yeah.
So I guess it fucking makes sense. And as Glorio described, his way of doing things is kind of more like a mafia. And I guess when they saw that in the translation, they didn't miss the chance to be like, oh, they're like mafia, eh? Let's give them Italian accents. Let's go.
Yes.
Really fitting for the setting and the types
Yeah,
of characters.
props to the dub for that. I
Hmm.
did enjoy his Brooklyn accent, and
Hmm.
I also enjoyed his hideous character design. His big his big fat body wearing a thong and loincloth.
Very, very Toriyama-esque.
Yes.
Yeah. And we learn that his motivation for, well, actually, in this scene, we start to see some holes in Glorio's story a little bit because,
Wait, I just realized Pansy should have a Brooklyn accent.
oh yeah, that's actually a good point. Although you mentioned that, one thing that a lot of people were saying on Twitter is that her voice is like dead on, like one to one with her Japanese voice,
Huh.
which is kind of interesting. I like when that happens. It doesn't happen very often. In fact, I can't really think of any instance where that's happened except for Naruto. So there you go.
Believe it.
Yeah, his English voice and Japanese voice sound almost exactly the same. It's
Yeah.
actually kind of crazy.
All right. Go on about Gloria being super sus still.
Some holes are showing up a little bit in his story because when he appeared on Earth, he told Goku and friends that he was sent by the king to go and find someone strong enough to beat King Goma. Here we learned that he was actually the one that approached the king with the idea to do that.
Oh, so this is what I was saying I was confused about earlier though, is I was wondering like what's his relation to the king? Is this like was that like literally the first time Glorio met the king or is Glorio someone that the king like has a rapport with kind of?
Yeah, they never really elaborate on that. I guess they were just like, it's something to get the ball rolling on the plot, and
Yeah.
that's all it really needs to be.
It would make sense if he knew the king because the king is like a mafia boss. So Gloria, who is probably a smuggler or something, it would make sense.
Yeah, there's a connection there. And it's after this that we get yet another decent action scene because the king wants Goku to be able to prove that he is as strong as he claims. I just love the choreography in this show. It's so fucking good. Please. I know I'm starting to sound like a broken record, but seriously, get rid of these characters' ability to fly.
Yeah, the scene where Goku fights all of the goons for the king was pretty good.
Oh, wait, did I skip over? Yeah, I actually did skip over a scene. Going back just a little bit. So we cut to King Goma, who still has Dende hostage. And we kind of learned something interesting here that the reason why he took Dende is specifically because he wants to raise Dende
Yeah, he's grooming Dende
to make him a new set of Dragon Balls, which is kind of interesting because it confirms that yes, a person can make more than one set of Dragon Balls. So that's thing number one.
well,
And then thing,
Dende didn't make a set of Dragon Balls. We went over this.
oh yeah, I mean that's true. But like if you like repair it and then like connect those Dragon Balls to yourself, I kind of
Oh yeah,
just
I
assume
guess you can own more than one set of
yeah,
Dragon
you
Balls at
can
least.
you can own more than one set of Dragon Balls, and that in any given realm there can be more than one set of Dragon Balls because I don't think making these Dragon Balls would just make the other ones disappear, right? So, although I guess now that I think about it, I guess that makes sense because it's not like Namek and Earth exist in two different realms. But I always kind of viewed it as like, oh, they're two different planets. But then,
Yeah.
but now that I think about it, they actually did bring the Namekian Dragon Balls to Earth at one point. So it's not like there can't be two sets on a planet at the same time. But I was thinking of how this kind of is something else that seems to be taking cues from GT a little bit, like we went over last episode, because as far as being able to own two sets of Dragon Balls, because in GT, Kami also owned two
The
sets of
spooky,
Dragon Balls.
evil Dragon Balls
Yeah,
that blow up the planet.
the Black Star Dragon Balls that we to this day we still don't know what Kami was smoking when he made those.
He used black magic to make them, and that's why they blow up the planet.
Yes. Actually, on the subject of Dragon Ball GT similarities, there is actually one thing I kind of wanted to mention that was kind of similar between this and GT. I mean, I might be kind of reaching a little bit, but the dynamic of like the team in this and the dynamic of the team in GT is pretty similar. You've got Goku as Goku. You've got Pansy as like the little girl with attitude taking Pan's place. Also, just pointing out Pansy, probably a coincidence, but probably not. And then you've got Glorio as the straight man. And then you've got Supreme Kai. Oh, Glorio is the straight man in Trunks' place. And then you've got Supreme Kai taking Giru's place as the
Man,
expert.
they are getting a lot of mileage out of that Goku getting Glorio's name wrong joke. They did that joke like 10 times in these episodes.
Gazebo, Gorillo, Godago.
It'd be one thing if Goku was just getting his name wrong, but every time he's like, "My name is Glorio." It kind of makes Goku come off as a little bit of an asshole, actually.
I actually really thought he was about to call him Glory Hole in that one scene.
I'm waiting for it.
It was like Glorio. Oh yeah, one minor nitpick of mine. This is me being a little bit autistic as a Dragon Ball fan. It happens in episode 5 and it happens again in episode 6. They keep referring to Goku as the strongest in the universe. This is not true. Okay. He's actually the second strongest. The strongest in the universe at this point in time is Gohan. This series takes place 9 months after the Buu saga. It is confirmed canon that Ultimate Gohan, or Mystic Gohan if you prefer, is stronger than Super Saiyan 3 Goku. We know this is the case because Ultimate Gohan absolutely mopped the floor with Super Buu. Super Saiyan 3 Goku probably couldn't do that.
It doesn't matter how strong the form is. When you throw as hard as Gohan did, you are not the strongest.
When Buu depowered back into Bukalo because the fusion between Goten and Trunks ran out, Bukalo was so much stronger than Goku that in the manga, specifically, because the original English dub actually kind of fucks this up, because in the original English dub, it's like, you don't plan to beat me like that, do you? Which it gets memed a lot because he's basically disrespecting Piccolo saying that. But in but in but in the manga, Goku specifically states now Gohan can beat you because Goku cannot, because Gohan is way stronger. So they're fucking up. They're fucking up. Gohan's the strongest. And yeah, they're a little bit too aware of the fact that Goku's the protag to keep labeling that when it's canonically false. I mean, if they acknowledged that Gohan was the strongest, then it would just be like, wait, why don't we just bring Gohan? Why are we bringing?
Well,
Why are we bringing...
in fair, well, for one, all right, we still don't know if Gohan is.
I mean, Gohan's an adult, so if he got shrunk down, he would be turned into a kid, not a baby.
But
so,
however, I mean, in the defense of their plan, Gohan, we don't really know how good of a fighter he actually is. Goku has a lot of experience fighting without powers.
Yeah.
But Gohan pretty much skipped straight to Super Saiyan, so.
That is a good point. And also, you should never... I mean, all the Saiyans kind of have big egos and get a little bit disrespectful in their fights. I mean, later on in episode 6, Goku gets super disrespectful with fucking Glorio. But Gohan is up there with Vegeta in terms of how bad he can fumble fights. It's not just a Majin Buu thing. Even in the Cell Saga, where he claimed the title of protag, he fumbled there and got his dad killed. So I can kind of see why you wouldn't want to put the fate of the world in Gohan's hands. In fact, that's probably exactly what's going through Supreme Kai's mind. Because if you think about it, Supreme Kai in the Buu saga was the one who went out of his way to like hide Gohan and like place faith in Gohan like saving the world. He's the one that brought him to the land of the Kais to get his powers unlocked by Elder Kai. And when he saw that fumble, he was like, "Wow, I'm never placing my faith in that guy like that
And then
ever again."
Daddy had to come in to save him.
Yeah. So, that's a
Not cut out to be the main protagonist. Literally fumbled so hard that he lost he lost the protagonist role and had to give it back to Goku.
Yeah. To be honest, I still find that so funny that like literally at the start of the high school saga, which is part of the Buu saga, there is literally a note where Toriyama writes, "Gohan is now the protagonist." And it just ended up not being true. But whatever. One thing I wanted to touch on is how this show kind of brings back the mysticalness surrounding the first Super Saiyan transformation because Goku uses it sparingly and not frequently like he does in Super, where he transforms pretty much in every fight. Um, I like the way that they tease it in
And
the fight.
he really charges it. He has like the full
Yeah.
and
I,
then
I
slow.
I like the way, I like the way they present that. It's neat. They're kind of like treating the forms with the weight that they're supposed to have, They kind of started having a little bit less of that. Not because of how not just because of how frequently the characters would use the forms, but also because of the shit ton of forms that they have.
Yeah.
Granted, that's not really like avoided here because he still has like Super Saiyan 2 and 3, but I like it nonetheless. Oh, and I guess when they get ready to leave because they're given a ship by the king, they send someone to go and fetch Vegeta and crew because they remembered, oh yeah, this is partially inspired by Goku time, but we're not trying to lean too hard into that. We do want the supporting cast to matter a little bit.
Immediately got blocked because it's Goku time.
Yeah, the powers that be were like, okay, this show isn't going to be Goku time, but we're still going to do Goku time for a little bit longer, okay? So you're just going to have to, uh, uh, sit your ass down um, for a little bit while longer. The sixth episode starts right after they take off, and then they crash land because they overloaded the ship. And I have to admit, when this first happened, I was kind of there like, oh god, are we gonna do like a rinse, like a cycle where it's like they get on the ground, they find a way to travel through the skies again, and then for some reason they get on the ground? Is this how we're gonna be like forcing the characters to like stay on the
I'd
ground?
agree. I was worried that we were gonna be in the third demon realm for a while longer. It's like, okay, I am ready to leave the third demon realm now.
Like, are they gonna do this to like maintain the purposes of the fucking adventure piece by forcing it like this?
But fortunately, the ship was not broken. It
Yeah,
was just overloaded, and they were able to immediately get it back up.
yeah, and Pansy's able to repair it because of her technological
I
prowess.
guess that scene was just to show that the Gestapo are after Goku.
Yeah,
And also that Goku shits a lot, I guess.
because Goku is now a wanted man.
Oh, and
Um,
to establish that Goku does not wash his hands after using the bathroom, even when he poops.
yeah, and I have to say, I get that we're trying to do the whole Goku's kind of a dumbass thing, but I feel like we're kind of doing the super thing a little bit now, where it's like, okay,
Super stupid Goku.
we're taking this a little bit too far now. He's meant to be like a slightly naive, a bit of a dumbass country bumpkin who grew up in a rural area, uh not a stupid person. There you go. Not a stupid person. Okay, he's just that. Yeah, we're taking this a little bit. I refuse to believe that Grandpa Gohan, if Grandpa Gohan had enough common sense to teach Goku to bathe, it's hard to imagine that he wouldn't have enough common sense to be like, wash your hands. And it's just, it's also really hard for me to imagine that with how much of a prude Chi-Chi is, that she would let Goku lay his hands on her in privacy, intimate time, knowing that this man does not fucking wash his hands after he takes a shit. Just saying. Like it's just so there you go.
No, she doesn't let Goku touch her. It's no touching and no kissing when they're in
Oh,
bed.
she binds him. She binds him to the bed and just rides. I see how it is. God
Yes.
damn, that's some freaky shit. That's
We
sounding a lot.
we know that Chi-Chi is a bit of a freak, so
Yeah,
it's not surprising.
I that just you saying that just reminds me of how there's like art of Chi-Chi like pegging Goku. It's just-
We know she does. She has to. That's canon.
Yes. Oh, yeah. In that scene where we learn about the origins of the Glins, we also learn about the fact that Degasu and Aransu just decided to stick around for their own personal ambitions. Degasu more so because he doesn't get along with Glins, and Aransu, I guess, to continue with whatever science projects she's been doing while she's there.
To continue scheming.
Yeah, and Degasu is starting to sound a lot more like Zamasu to me, like with his him struggling to get along with other Glins, because Zamasu was very much like that. He kind of had because in the other universe that Zamasu is from, he kind of had differences with his teacher who was also a Glind, particularly in regards to the whole mortals issue, because again, Degasu was kind of like, ugh, fucking Shin is dirtying his hands.
I
Fucking
still
getting
don't think
like
they really haven't.
I don't think
I
he
don't
like
know.
wants to like I don't think he wants to like fucking genocide mortals the way Zamasu does, but I'm commenting on the fact that there's like similarities,
Yeah. Yeah,
between
I
the two.
guess.
Actually, one thing I also want to point out is that I do believe, I could be wrong, but I do believe this is also the first time that Supreme Kai is referred to as Shin in a Dragon Ball dub. Because in the sub, they're not called Supreme Kais, they're called Kaioshins. They don't refer to them as such in the dub, and I don't think they ever said his actual name in the dub. I think they always just referred to him as Supreme Kai. So there you go. Neat bit of dub trivia for you. This is the first time they refer to him with his actual name in this. The perks of them actually starting to care more about being accurate to the original Japanese script. Um, and I guess it's also sometime after that, when they're resting in the cave after they've landed, that it's more or less confirmed that yes, Glorio is working with Arensu, which
Yeah, they have a scene where he walks outside and takes a call with her and is like, our plan. I am helping execute our evil plan.
yeah, I'm guessing Arensu was kind of like partially involved in wanting Goku to come and defeat King Goma because of the whole Goma threatening to slash or even just completely take away her funds for her experiments.
She's got to have some bigger game plan, though. I don't think it's just about taking down Goma.
You think she's gunning for Demon Queen?
Something like that.
Possibly. It's just sort of funny to me because people speculated that they might be working together just because they happen to look similar in design to two villains from Xenoverse, and that's exactly what it was. So, you
Well,
know, that's pretty funny. So when they're in the cave, they get disrupted in their sleep by a Minotaur. One line of dialogue in that scene that I found amusing personally was when Goku called the Minotaur a cow, and the Minotaur, not the cow, the Minotaur says to Goku, do cows fucking walk on their hind legs and call you fool, you're fool? And yes, they do, because Goku lives in a world. Well, actually, you know what? I was gonna say Goku lives in a world where anthropomorphic animals do exist, because we do see them in the background. I mean, the king of the world is a fucking talking dog, but and but then I just remembered that you know what? The anthros aren't really shown as much as part of the background characters in Dragon Ball after a certain point. So could it actually be that the line of dialogue makes sense because they've basically just been retconned out of existence? Because I
well,
think,
Oolong is still around, so
oh yeah, that's true.
and
Oolong and Puar
King Pilaf's.
is Pilaf in. Oh, you mean Shu, the dog? Yeah,
Yeah, his dog sidekick. So there you go. There's two animal people. Oh, and the cat guy. We saw him and Daima.
Puar. Yeah. But it seems like the rest, the ones that are like actually like full on anthros that look human, like it seems like they're basically just gone, like they don't exist anymore. So I guess within the context of them seemingly being retconned out of existence, I guess that line of dialogue does make sense. But I just found it
Damn.
I just found it funny because I mean, anthros supposedly exist. Maybe they got fucking genocided. Maybe the humans didn't appreciate the tyrannical rule of the dog king. There was like a bit of a systemic racism thing going on where like the society is more favorable towards anthros, and they were like, nah, bro, fuck this.
Wicked is canon to the Dragon Ball universe.
It's funny because I was thinking more so Spider-Man Unlimited because that's literally the plot of that show. Because the other world that Peter travels to is like a world that's ruled by anthros and the humans are treated like shit. What a fucking weird ass plot for a Spider-Man cartoon. But when this Minotaur shows up, where Glorio wants to fight him, and Goku comes straight in with that disrespect, like, nah, bro. I gotta be honest. This guy's mine because you ain't that guy, bro. You ain't that guy. And Glorio, well, okay, I'm probably overstating it a little bit by saying Glorio takes offense to that, but Glorio's
I'll
like,
be
oh,
honest, I zoned out for a second during that. So I was like waiting for them to fight the Minotaur, and then suddenly they were about to fight. I was like, what the fuck?
yeah. I mean, that's like the gag. I actually found this kind of funny, to be fair, which it's funny because despite Dragon Ball being a comedy, it actually doesn't make me laugh that often. But I actually
Yeah,
found
it's
this
it's not very funny for the most part.
I actually found this kind of funny where the Minotaur is just like, guys, I'm still fucking here. What the fuck? Like, I want to kill you and eat you guys because I need my fucking breakfast. But they're just completely ignoring him.
He didn't need breakfast, he had a big dinner.
Yeah, Goku and Glorio, they get into a fight, and the fight is basically Goku flexing. He's basically flexing the entire time and showing just how far ahead in terms of strength compared to Glorio he actually is. But we also get to see what Glorio's unique magic ability is, and I guess it's like he shoots lasers and can also manipulate the energy into like a whip and stuff. That's kind of neat.
Yeah, and Pansy is remarking like, "Well, I'd never seen a power like this."
Yeah.
So
And then we get a little bit more Super Saiyan Goku in this scene, which is kind of neat.
I really like how he looks in Daima.
The frame where he's like transforming, where his hair transitions from black to yellow, I really like that frame because it looks like it was drawn by Toriyama himself. It looks almost like a one-to-one replication of his modern style. Uh, it is pretty good. Or not his current modern style. It looks more like the style that he was drawing like the re-releases of the manga in. So it's not like the sort of curvy style. It's like the more realistic, lanky style that he was having back then when he was doing the cover art for those. I thought that
Yeah.
looked pretty cool. Nice. Bro left Glorio completely shook.
Incidentally, I'm pretty sure that the frame where Goku is going Super Saiyan was the thumbnail for the seasonal that we covered this.
Oh yeah, yeah, because I believe that's one of the shots from the trailer too. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Um,
there you go.
and just as a side note, because I don't think we've talked about the soundtrack of this show that much, I
It's
do
real
like
good.
the music that plays when Goku and Glorio are fighting. The orchestral music at the start. Yeah, the soundtrack is pretty good in this.
Yeah, the soundtrack, I don't know if I'd say it carries, but it is like a huge part of the experience.
Indeed. Which is one part that Dragon Ball has never really faltered in. Except for Super. I thought Super's soundtrack was actually pretty generic. But
I
outside of
couldn't tell
Super,
you any songs from Super.
least favorite opening, even above the fucking Welcome to the Grand Tour fucking thing. That's
What do you
probably
mean? That's iconic.
yeah. Step into the Grand Tour, Grand Tour, Grand Tour. Step into the Grand Tour, Dragon Ball GT. They should have just made like a fucking remake of that for this. That would have been fucking epic.
Instead, we got the terrible, shitty Daima Wonderland that
Yeah.
is extremely catchy, and I keep getting stuck in my head.
And I really wish. Oh yeah, I said this before off the podcast. I wish that they had done a dub version of the song and they'd gotten Stephanie Nadolny to sing it because I do believe she sang some of the dub versions of the credits song in the original Dragon Ball because and they tend to do that a lot, have some of their voice actors sing because many of their voice actors are singers too, like in One Piece, they had Vic Mignogna. Vic Mignogna was the one who sang the original version of We Are before they completely replaced it because of the controversy surrounding that guy.
Oh,
But yeah. The episode ends with the scene we mentioned earlier where the crew is just about to take off to head to the demon realm and join with Goku, but the powers that be are like, nah, bro, Goku time isn't over yet. Sit your ass down. And yeah, that's the end of episode 6. Although, given the fact that the guy um from the king is on their way to pick them up, I doubt they'll be stuck there for very long. So they will be getting their chance to shine in the spotlight pretty soon, hopefully. What did you think of this batch of episodes so far?
it was another good batch. I would say it still doesn't feel slow to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, it could be faster, but I wouldn't say I was bored or anything. I was entertained the whole way through.
Yeah.
I'm I thought the world building was the world building was the main draw for me in this. So,
Yeah.
and there was a good amount of it. So
I would
I
say
am I am
um,
satisfied.
I would say it definitely doesn't feel slow yet, which is to be expected because technically the adventure just started, like
Yeah.
proper for real this time. They've set their sights on the first Tamagami and are heading towards it. So now the plot is like really properly kicked off, and we're gonna start checking off the Tamagami one by one. Maybe we'll see that in episode 7 or episode 8, and then probably episode 9 we'll probably end up just heading to the second demon realm. Maybe I don't know. Um, Unless they really draw this out and it actually does end up taking a while to get to that first Tamagami, but I doubt it will. Yeah, and when that happens, that's probably when we're gonna get a more first more Dragon Ball Z-esque fight because the Tamagami are supposed to be pretty strong. So, I was about to say looking forward to that, but I've been enjoying the grounded combat. I don't know. I'm sure.
I'm just looking forward to seeing the other demon worlds. That's what I'm excited for.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
whatever types of food might be in them.
Uh, yeah. Hopefully they continue to show us because we got to see in the third demon realm we visited a small village, we visited an in-between place, the rest stop, and then we saw the king and his castle. Hopefully, I mean, it's not like a lot of exploration of the third demon realm, but it's something. We get to see some locations and some people, so hopefully they do that too.
Yeah, I think the third demon realm is just kind of a shithole. So like,
Yeah.
there's not really a lot to see there. It's very rural.
The second demon realm, I believe, is where the Glins are from. So we might see some interesting stuff there. Maybe with Supreme Kai 2. We might even meet the person who pulled him out of the tree. Who knows? But yeah. But we'll get there when we get there. Do you have anything you want to shout out?
Uh, I have a blue sky at Aarlon. I have a YouTube channel. I think I'm gonna change my YouTube to Homokomori instead. I want to move away from using Arlon with 2 N's for stuff. So
I mean, you are kind of doxing yourself then.
what?
But to be fair, so am I, because my fucking username is Dominic. Oh, I thought it was a doxing thing, not a branding thing.
No, no, no. I'm still using Arlon, but
Oh,
on some websites, Arlon is taken. So I was using Arlon with 2 N's sometimes. And I want to get in the habit of either spelling it correctly or using Homokomori. So
yeah.
yeah, I guess that's it. I post about game development stuff and
And
other interesting stuff on Blue Sky.
you guys should check out his comic, Big Billy's Adventure Everywhere. It's better
Yeah.
than Dragon Ball Daima. No, I'm kidding.
Yes. No, I wasn't gonna plug it because it's been so long since there's been an update to the website. So, but I am
Mhm.
working on it, just not the digital version.
And as for me, you can find me on Blue Sky, and pretty much everywhere else as either Tammy likes to draw or Tamika likes to draw. I You know what? I was about to say some stuff, but let me not because I don't want to put it out in the universe that I'm thinking of doing something and then it ends up not happening. So let me just keep that to myself. But yeah, everyone say goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.